community. Ask Rob.
Hey everybody, this is Rob Lenfesti. I'm out here at beautiful Mandala Springs and continuing this series of asking me questions, and I answer them. So this one's really near and dear to my heart. It comes from Lyndsay McKeever, and she asked me, how did you select a community to put roots in and move into a badass community, building and healing after living such a dreamy, successful, nomadic lifestyle through YogaSlackers, etc.? Do you feel stagnant or bored from being grounded these days? Did you ever feel lonely or depressed on the road? And what I love about this question is I feel that I had quite a lot of different experiences when I was on the road. Now, just for context sake, I spent most of my 20s living on the road, traveling and teaching slackline yoga and acro yoga, playing music, working with cacao, living in foreign countries, doing permaculture and farming, and having lots of really crazy adventures that are impossible to describe to someone who wasn't there living them. It was some of the most valuable experiences of my life. And what it really amounted to was the proving grounds. Like, I put myself in different contexts with different kinds of people, different cultures, extreme environments. I pushed myself in all sorts of different ways in a very consistent and sometimes unforgiving way. And what that amounted to was a rite of passage. And one of the things that I think is missing from our society today is this really powerful rite of passage where you stretch yourself in as many different directions as you can so that you know who you are. You know where your breaking points are. You know where your limits are. And you develop a sense of self and a sense of personal freedom that I think is lacking in most people who go to school, then get married, go to the job, and do the normal Western thing, and don't ever give themselves the gift of the opportunity to have the rite of passage. Which is why Mandala Springs is a place to help create those kinds of experiences for people. And part of my work now is to help cultivate that, a space for people to have those kinds of experiences. So it involved absolute amazing experiences, meeting incredible people, lots of serendipity, some of the most poignant and beautiful moments of my life. But very often while I was on the road, it was extremely challenging. Moving from place to place, not having a grounded community of people. Even though I was surrounded by people all the time, I often felt very lonely. And there'd be nights, very often, where I would pull my truck over and set up a camp somewhere on the side of the road. And sometimes I would just spend hours sitting in the front seat of my truck wondering, like, what am I doing with my life? For me, I felt this sense that there was something more. And a long time ago, interestingly enough, here in Asheville, one of my dear friends that I don't get to see enough, Bloom Post, said something that has always stuck with me. And she said that I had a certain gift for going and finding the flow, finding where the energy was just moving, and the groups of people and the situations, wherever I went, I could find it. And that I could do that successfully for as long as I want to, but she said that my real power wouldn't really manifest itself until I stayed in one place long enough that all those flows that I had learned how to go and tap into would all come, and I would become the confluence. They would all move through me. And I realized that a lot of the projects that I see that I can have the greatest impact on the world and really bring my work into the world in a powerful way would involve me really staying in one place and cultivating businesses, practices, community, and eventually like creating space to bring people in, to bring the people that I want to train with, and bring the people that I want to work with, and to draw them to me, essentially. One thing that I know is that I've changed a lot since I decided to ground, since I built my tiny house, even prior to getting land. And I feel much more grounded. I feel much more calm in my spirit, and less like I'm trying to prove something. I feel more just satiated in being myself in this place with this community. Now, I traveled the world in my 20s looking for that perfect place, that Shangri-La to call home, and I would find myself in like Kauai, in Kala'au, or in the Valley of Flowers in India, or just in some of these most beautiful places, having these really enthusiastic conversations with people about this little pocket of southern Appalachia with its ancient stone and its crazy biodiversity and its magic. And over time realized that that was where the Shangri-La was. It was always here. So I made my choice and I put down my root. And one of the questions that Lyndsay's asking is, do I ever feel bored or stagnant? And what's interesting is I felt like I had more stagnation and boredom in that high energy, full on gypsy movement of my 20s than I do now, because I've really given myself over to these very large, very ambitious projects like Mandala Chocolate, this retreat center, being able to play with bands and cultivate musical relationships that were impossible while I was traveling full time, and then simultaneously cultivating a deeper spiritual and practical connection to the land that was never possible when I was living out of my car and moving locations frequently. So the answer is no. On the contrary, things are moving a lot, and I feel like what's happened is it had to happen right, because I experienced that level of freedom and empowerment and magic of what life can be. I couldn't just settle myself down and get the white picket fence and job and do that stuff. You know, for me to settle down, I really had to find a place that could support the opportunities that the sense of self, the spiritual and emotional maturity created by my traveling and my experiences in my 20s, a place that could really support that, handle it, and allow me to go on that adventure in this direction instead of this direction. And I'm still getting out. I'm still running all over the mountains and doing tons of acro and slacklining more and more again. And I'm really just feeling more and more connected to my sense of purpose, my sense of being an effective agent of change on the planet, and all kinds of serendipitous projects. The whole work I did with Cloud Forest Conservation Initiative, helping to raise $1.2 million and save 10 square miles of cloud forest, that project came from being grounded here, and the connections that I made that way, and my ability to manage that project with the work of some amazing people like my friend Jeremy, was really contingent on my ability to be grounded. So I have a lot of empathy for the nomad who's feeling a sense of waywardness, loneliness, and depression, because there were many moments in my journey that were like that. There were lots of challenging moments, but my one piece of advice is trust your heart. Know that you're on track. When you intend to ground out, wait till it really clicks. till a place clicks and invites you in and really makes things work. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is if you've spent a lot of years being a nomad and being free, it's going to be hard to ground out for a while. You have to trust yourself and trust that same guiding force that guided you to travel, that guides you to be in one place. It's going to be hard. It's another challenge. It's the next step in the journey. And it's not removing myself from the adventure in any stretch of the imagination. If anything, the adventure has just gotten deeper. The stakes have gotten higher in all the right ways. And the moves that are being made right now on the planet and that I get to be a part of are priceless. So lots of love and support to all the nomads out there, the ones who are really pushing themselves, networking, experiencing new cultures, reframing themselves and learning who they are. Because I feel like the spiritual and emotional maturity that you're cultivating will allow you to be a more innovative, creative, and inspiring agent of change when you do finally get the message to ground out and pick a spot and start cultivating all of those flows that you were able to get into very easily throughout your life and have them all come to you. And you'll be blown away by what you're capable of when those flows really do start moving through you. Just know it's going to be challenging at first. It's not going to be easy, but the rewards are incomprehensible. I hope this answers your question. Once again, this is the Ask Rob Anything. Feel free to leave questions in the comments. The idea is to open up a dialogue, so if you have any thoughts on this, please share them. And yeah, questions are coming in and videos are just going to keep happening. Have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you guys soon.